Hello again. Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh said earlier this year the government is looking to reverse the phenomenon of brain drain. Brain drain is estimated to cost half a percentage point of India's gross national product. But is the tide slowly changing as India's economy continues to grow? Producer Fu Yue Peng has the latest. For Yog Van Boggelen and Madeline Dover, grocery shopping at local stalls in Mumbai goes a long way in stretching the dollar. After all, these Europeans are doing a year-long internship at a leading Indian IT company for $490 per month. While this sum may be considered princely for some Indians, they are learning to make adjustments to life here, all in the name of the invaluable India experience.
Everybody knows that India and China, they're the fastest growing economies in the world. So, like being a European, and I just graduated, I really wanted to have I wanted to experience it. I wanted to be there in India and see how how Indians do business and get to learn about it. So that's why I chose India.
For me, it was the cultural experience, first of all. As I had friends that did an internship in India before me. And secondly, it was about the economic growth of India, which I wanted to experience.
They're not alone despite the so-called hardship post. According to recruitment agency Kelly Services, there is anecdotal evidence that the number of foreigners working in India is growing.
Many of them have now been exposed to India by the world media, and they're seeing of all the wonderful things that are happening in India, and they want to put that on the resume. So there is an interest of people wanting to work there. But also on the other hand, you have companies, foreign multinationals investing into India. And these foreign multinationals want to have some of their folks based in India so that they are able to control the productivity, the efficiency, the operations as well. And to be able to transfer knowledge across to the Indians and hopefully learn something from Indians and be able to bring back to the host country as well.
Besides multinationals, Indian IT companies are also becoming increasingly global as they extend their reach overseas. Tata Consultancy Services, or TCS, is the largest software export company in India. Having an international team exposed to different cultures benefits TCS as well as the foreigners working here. Yet, as much as India beckons, its allure is fleeting.
I definitely would like to go back to Holland or to Europe, because I came here for 1 year to get the India experience, to learn about the culture and the organization, but then I would like to bring that experience back to my own country as a kind of added value. I could possibly work for TCS in Europe, but I wouldn't like to stay in India for longer than a year, because you also have things like family and friends, and you don't want to give that up.
After all, many say India is not an easy country for foreigners to adapt to. It's not just the international talent that isn't staying on. Even India's top talent prefers to relocate to countries such as the U.S. or even Singapore. And in the IT sector, where the attrition rate is especially high, IT companies have to hire staff in massive numbers. In TCS's case, it is hiring 30,000 employees this year to cope with its projects around the world. Currently, less than 10% of its 80,000-strong staff are foreigners. It is TCS's way of addressing the country's brain drain by employing bright Indian nationals and then relocating them overseas. Yet experts say the problem of brain drain isn't as dire as in the past, all thanks to a buoyant $1 trillion economy that has been growing by 7% annually for the last few years. Information technology in particular is leading the pack when it comes to job hiring and increased wages in India. So for Indian IT professionals at least, the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
I do not know whether when you're making...
See, having an overseas stint is definitely attractive, but it's not as attractive as it used to be before. And the reason I say that is because 10 to 12 years ago, we didn't have the number of multinational companies or professional organizations in India as we do today. I mean, the number has grown many-fold, and so the kind of exposure that you would typically look for overseas, if that's available in your home country without having to sacrifice staying away from your family or friends and, enjoying the life in India, why would you want to do that?
If you notice that the salaries in India are on the rise very significantly, take, for example, in the technology space, anybody could move from one job to another and get anywhere between 25 to 30% pay hike. Now, that is another thing that is happening, and for that, companies have to be very smart in being able to retain that talent.
While there is a gradual market correction of salaries in India, there is still a marked difference between working in India and in Singapore. For instance, a software engineer with 3 to 5 years of experience earns $610 in India, but $1,970 in Singapore. And an IT manager can earn 4 times more in Singapore compared to in India. It's all too familiar to Kumar, an Indian national who came to Singapore in search of better prospects 13 years ago. Although he knows of friends who have returned to India after an overseas stint, Kumar, who has established a successful career in Singapore, isn't about to give it all up just yet.
At the end of the day, you really go where the opportunities are. And if the opportunities today are in India, I mean, that is what pulls people back to India. It's not necessarily a sense of patriotism or, I want to fight for my country. I'm sure if the need arises, we would. But, ultimately it's because the careers ask for it.
To be where the opportunities reside and not where the heart is, that is the current pragmatic approach of many in this globalized reality. And India is certainly not alone, as brain drain also affects many first world economies as the relentless search for global talent continues.